Hey everyone, it's me Brooke. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about David Bowie and his greatest hits. As we all know, David Bowie was a musical genius, and that is why these songs definitely bring out his creativity and just show how musically talented he really was.
I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. And the other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in.
This album, titled Let's Dance, was released in 1983. By the time it was 1983, David Bowie already released many albums that showed his creativity and musical talent. But that definitely didn't mean that this was the end of his career. I feel like this album definitely proved to people that he didn't lose his creativity and that his music was still modern for that time, but he was doing it in his own creative way. Now, if I said that this was David Bowie's last good album, that would be a lie, because it really isn't, in my opinion at least. But I think that this was definitely the last album that got him radio play and recognition, because after this album was made, I really don't think that he got a lot of recognition from his other songs in later albums. And I'm sure that at least a handful of songs from each of his later albums after this got some recognition and radio play, but this album was the last album that all of the songs had recognition.
Do you remember Agatha's Spin? Oh no, don't say it's true.
This album, Scary Monsters and Super Creeps, was released in 1980. This album was made and released 3 years before Let's Dance was released. I feel like many people wouldn't choose this album as one of their first picks for David Bowie, but in my opinion, this is like one of my favorite Bowie albums. The main focus in this album was overcoming his drug addiction and overcoming obstacles in his life. My favorite things about this album is that it is true, it is deep, and it is meaningful, and all of those words describe this album because even though he went through obstacles and overcoming his drug addiction, he definitely made a positive thing out of it by creating this album and explaining all of it through music. This next one is Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie. It was released in 1982, and this is not on any of David Bowie's albums. It is technically a Queen song, but David Bowie is featured in it. But this song is still one of his greatest hits because it is on the Greatest Hits album that I have, and just in general, like when you think of David Bowie, you might think of this song. But anyways, this is obviously an iconic duo because Queen and David Bowie are both amazing and musically talented in their own ways, and it's just crazy how this collab even exists. This song is focused around love and how it can make people feel and how it can affect other people.
It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair.
The album Hunky Dory was released in 1971, and Life on Mars is one of the most popular songs on this album. This song definitely has kind of a vague meaning, but it is about a girl who is disconnected from her surroundings and disconnected from her family. This song means a lot to me because I think the melody is really, really pretty, and the way that he sings the lyrics is really touching. Also, I was going to include Changes because that is one of his greatest hits, but since I already did a song off of Hunky Dory, I'm not going to do another one, so now I'm going to move on to the next one. The Man Who Sold the World was released in 1970, and the title track is the most popular track on the album. This song is about a man who no longer recognizes himself and feels bad for it. For years, David Bowie struggled with his identity, and he expressed that through his songs.
Ground control's a major tom.
This Bowie album, Space Oddity, was released in 1969. This song is about his fictional character Major Tom going off into space but then losing connection with ground control. Some people also believe that this song is about a drug overdose since Bowie was into drugs at this time. The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars was released in 1972. This was his first big character that got a lot of people intrigued. Although I like this album and most of the tracks on it, I also think that it is an experimental album because it is his first major character and he wanted to see how it would do. But obviously it did very well, so from there he made more characters and a lot more albums. This song is about Ziggy Stardust, the alien rock star who acted as a messenger for extraterrestrial beings. The Gene Genie was off of the album Aladdin Sane, which was released in 1973. Bowie has said that this song is about a New York lady and a guy who lives in New York, and he calls himself the Gene Genie. The album Diamond Dogs was released in 1974. Also, I'm like 99% sure that Rebel Rebel is David Bowie's most popular song. This song is about a boy who rebels against his parents by wearing makeup and tacky women's clothes. Of course, this song is great and iconic, but my favorite off of Diamond Dogs has to be We Are the Dead. This album, titled Young Americans, was released in 1975. Not only is the title track off of this album very popular, but Fame is also very popular, and I'm sure that many of you or all of you watching this have heard of that song too. Bowie said that he crammed his whole American experience into this one song, and also he was never a young American because he was born and raised in England.
Opening doors and pulling some strings. Then walk luck and you looked in time. Never look back, walk tall, act fine.
Station to Station was released in 1976. In this song, Bowie was basically saying to try and enjoy your golden years while they last. My personal favorite song off of this album is the title track. The album titled Low was released in 1977. I don't know why, but I don't really like this album that much, or the song Sound and Vision that I played for you guys just before. I don't know why. There's really no specific reason why. It's not terrible. I'm not saying I hate it, but it's definitely not one of my favorites. This song was Bowie's initial response at retreating from America in an attempt to get away from his drug addiction.
You can beat them forever and ever. Oh, we can be heroes just for one day.
This song is about a German couple who are so determined to be together that they meet every single day by the Berlin Wall. The album titled Heroes was released in 1977.
Sitting in the jungle, remember the Straße.
This song is about Bowie reflecting on his time in Berlin. This album, titled The Next Day, was released in 2013, and this was his second to last album before he passed away. And my personal favorite from this album is Valentine's Day.
This way or no way, you know I'll be free.
That song is called Lazarus, and it is off of this album called Black Star, which was released in 2016. It is said that the meaning of this song might be that Bowie was reflecting on his revival of his own career in the song Lazarus. And this was also Bowie's last album.